Good morning and welcome to America's #1 news station, Double V News. Today we'll be joined by a very special guest who came to America from the USSR.
Hello, Zane. Thank you for having me on the show today. It's a great honor to be here.
Tell us, Ivan, what it was like in the USSR prior to the attack. What did the Germans do to invoke fear in your city?
Well, before the attack, the Germans set up roadblocks and checkpoints right outside our city on all the main roads. We went through winter and spring with barely any food. Leningrad was starved from fuel, natural resources, and the necessities of life, while the Germans set up outside the city. Before they even attacked us, there were more deaths in the winter prior to the attack than in the actual attack.
Wow, that's incredible. Now tell us about the actual attack. Where were you, and what were you feeling at the time?
The attack happened on June 22nd, 1941. I was at home with my wife and kids when I heard the first gun and artillery strikes. I ran outside to see what was happening. And the German military was moving in on the city. I told my kids to hide in the cellar while I went to go find help. Our house was on the edge of the city, so the Germans were coming in soon. They came and took over the house, killing my wife and children while I was out finding help. When I got back, I had no idea what to do. I couldn't get out of the city, so I ran towards the center. The Germans never went to the heart of the city. Instead, they stopped their attack and set up roadblocks outside. They decided starving us was a lot better than risking their soldiers to come and kill us.
How long did all this last, and when did you finally escape?
These roadblocks and the Germans lasted until about 4 months ago. On January 27, 1944, the roadblocks finally came down. The second they came down, I bolted. I knew what I wanted to do, and that was to go to America. Most people stayed and helped clean up the city, but I couldn't stay any longer. I had to get away from the place where my family was brutally murdered and come tell the story.
We just heard a touching story from Ivan, and now we have two experts in the studio, Carly Cock and Kenny Carrier. We'll speak to them after the break.
I like salty nuts. Do you? Buy Johnny's Nuts today.
We're back with Professor Carly Cock to talk about the siege of Leningrad.
Hello, Zane. Tonight we're talking about the siege. This lasted about 90 days and 632,000 people had died. When Germany invaded Leningrad, they did not have enough supplies to feed everyone. When Germany took over it, they ate 1/3 of their grain, 1/3 of their coal, 1/12 of their sugar, and half of their meat. Also, they only had flour for about 35 days, cereal for 30, meat for 33, and fat for 45, and sugar for 60 out of the 900 days they were there.
Wow, how did the siege end?
Well, during the final days, the Russians were planning a counterattack to run Germans out of their country. The plan worked, and Germans were out of the USSR.
It was great talking to you, Carly. Now we're going to talk to next professor, Kenny Carrier.
Hello, Zane.
Thank you for joining us, Kendi. Now tell me how you feel about the Germans' invasion of USSR.
Oh, yes. I believe it was a very smart move on the part of the Germans. The communist regime in the Soviet Union is far too great to ignore.
Why is that?
Well, it's a known fact that the communists are a group of extremely radical individuals. It would not have been a smart move on the part of the Germans to leave them in their good graces.
Now tell me, Kendi, what was Mr. Hitler's best move in the invasion of the USSR?
Oh, that's simple. His best move by far was eliminating the major communist leaders in the country.
Okay, and his worst move?
Hitler makes no false moves.
We learned a lot from our guest, and now we're going to talk to Faya after the commercial break.
Do you like Lax Bros?
We like Lax Bros.
Buy your Lax Bro today!
Yeah, nuts.
We have here today Faya, all the way from Soviet Russia, who's here to talk about the invasion. So what was going through your mind?
I was terrified. I just knew things were going to get worse. Many of my family had already died due to starvation the winter before the attack. Hitler had cut off all food coming into Russia, and we were already very short on food. Now more people who we didn't even want in Russia started coming and eating all of our food that was left. It was devastating. It almost took 2 years till we could get rid of the barriers to get food again. It's a miracle that I'm still here today.
Wow, Faya, thank you for giving us your tragic story. And now we have with us a teenager who fought in the siege, Jonathan. Tell me about the war.
Oh, hell, Hitler! This was the biggest war I've ever seen.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. From the footage, there were many bombs. So, how long do you...
Very quick, after 3 years of battle at Leningrad.
Wow, well, thank you, Jonathan, for your personal experiences. All we have tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to Double V News Network, and keep it classy.